You'd say there, Mr. Clifford, that we're not interested in what people did. We're interested in in acceptance so far as it might help us to locate the bodies.
Yeah.
So because we know what people did. We know that there were innocent people murdered and secretly buried in parts of Ireland, and then the location of their remains hidden from the families for decades, and that still now, in excess of 40 years later, we're still asking for where the bodies of people on this island are buried, so that we can give some comfort, some tiny comfort to their siblings before they too pass on. So we know what people did. But one of the things that really struck me in our trip last week, and I think colleagues as well, was, or some colleagues as well, was we met, more groups then. We met Mr. McVeigh, we met David Clements, whose father was murdered, whose father was in the RUC, was murdered. We met Alan McBride, whose family were murdered in a Shankill bomb attack. We met families, the Ballymurphy massacre, who suffered enormous trauma, enormous intergenerational trauma, families of the Springhill massacre. And, all of those people really stuck with me over the weekend, and I'm sure with colleagues as well. And I was thinking about Irene Connolly and Joan Connolly and Ballymurphy over the weekend, and indeed Jacqueline Butler from Springhill. And you remember, as we said to them at the time, you remember their faces, you remember, what their voices sound like, you remember when you have that personal connection. One of the things that was obvious to me also, that when we went to the Wave Trauma Centre, which you've referenced and which really is excellent, and we must commend Sandra Peaks yet again for her work. But one of the things that struck me in particular with Mr. McVeigh was how alone he was in comparison, how alone he was in trying to articulate his voice on behalf of his brother, on behalf of his mother, to try to be heard, and how different perhaps that was to some of the other experiences that we'd had. And although all of the people that we met stuck with me, certainly over the weekend, and I think, a Dáil resolution, Chair, is an excellent, a Dáil motion is an excellent idea to have yet again that opportunity, these many decades later, to put it on the record, what we're asking people to do and how we're asking people to contribute information. But just for the benefit of, I suppose, the record of the Oireachtas, if I wanted to mention that, because as members of the committee we had the opportunity, the very good fortune and opportunity and privilege to go and meet with people and to listen to them and have the opportunity to do that. But of course we're doing that as public representatives on behalf of our constituents, and the very least that we can do is come back and relay that experience and what that experience looked like and felt like back onto the record of the Oireachtas, so that people know what it was like. And I really thought that comparative isolation, it really stuck out to me, and I certainly wanted to note it today.